Good evening. It's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com. How are you? I know that you'll only see that if you're watching that on the recording. So it's a special way for you because there's nobody else here but you and I on this recording right now. I hope you're well. I know a lot of you do come and talk to me about I've met lots of you, shall I say, that come and tell me that you watch these as recordings, and so I know who you are. I know who it is that's watching these, and welcome. So I am, as per usual. I was going to do the watch party thing, but for some reason it's not come up on my phone. So I'm trusting that this is broadcasting live. If it's not, I'm sat here talking to myself, which has been done before in more ways than one. So if you are here, give me a shout, say hello, just drop down in the bottom and say hello. If I've not met you before, or if I don't know where you are, then do say where you're from, because it'll be lovely to say, give you a shout out. But I'm assuming that you can hear me. Let me know, give me some thumbs up. And I'll give you a heads up, by the way, there is some randomness going on with my nails. There's a thumbs up there, so thank you for whoever gave that. Obviously shows that it is live. Randomness going on with my nails because I've finished taking one hand off, but not the other yet. So I'll flag up for those of you who are a little bit worried about what's going on with my nail varnish. Good evening, Tiffany. How are you, my lovely? Already a bit tired just after one day at work, but we'll be better after this session. No pressure for me there then. Good evening, Sophie. How are you? A little wave for you as well. And Martin, hello, Martin. No, it is live. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Martin. It's lovely to have a gentleman here live with us. Not that I don't love the ladies groups, because it's great when you're all here too. It's usually just women. So I do know that there are men watching this, or that do watch this. It tends to be the ladies that chip in, which is unusual, because usually if I'm in person, it's usually the men that chip in more than the women. So feel free, Martin, chip away, chip in, join in the conversation, and any other gentleman, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it on the recording. And at any point, please do not feel that you have to wait for me to give you permission to type. If something I say this evening resonates with you, then feel free to type away. If you are confused, don't know what the hell I'm going on about, then feel free to type away. If you don't want to type away, but you want to let me know that it's making sense, then show me some love, give me some thumbs or some hearts or whatever you prefer. If you want to laugh at me, that's fine. I often end up laughing at myself at the randomness of some of the things that come out of my mouth. But yeah, just join in as much as you would like to. And remember that you can invite people to watch this with you just in the same way as you would do anything else on Facebook, by tagging somebody or even sharing it to your page, whichever you would prefer to do. But yeah, please don't wait. And if you are watching this on the recording, whilst I can't obviously say hello to you live, because that would be a bit strange if I was able to do that as well, but I can, if you type in hello, I do get notification of that, and I will come on and say hello. It'll be a typewritten one, obviously. So if you missed the little hello I did for you at the beginning, those of you watching on the recording, hello, this is just for you. And for those of you who are watching live, it's great to have you here as well. So Martin says, I'm caring for my mum with dementia 5 days a week. So good to hear, +5. Bless you. I've spent a lot of time around carers recently, be that various family members, caring for other family members, or clients. I was speaking to a number of ladies last week for International Women's Day. There's a charity in York that I support called Kyra, Kyra. If you're in York and you've never heard of them, then give them a look, because they are fantastic. It's called Kyra Women's Project. And there's so many people, male and female, that are in that realm of carers, and it's a lot of hard work. So hats off to you, metaphorically, Martin, because I haven't literally got a hat on. And I hope you're getting all the support that you need. because it's a challenge caring for somebody regardless of who they are. So I hope you're getting all the support that you'll need, and sending you some loving vibes as well, and I hope that will spark your evening. So obviously Tiffany's looking for a bit of perk me up and feeling great. Martin could do with the same. Sophie, I'm guessing the same. And those are the rest of you that are watching live that haven't quite joined in the conversation yet. I'm wondering if you would want the same as well. Who have we got there? Caroline, hello, my darling. How are you? And let me just check over on the other page. And no, it's brilliant. That's cool. Okay, so I think I've done the housekeeping in that little bit, actually. Cheers. I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to dive right in, and I'm hoping that those of you that join live as we go through will get that you can join in at any point, will get that you can say hi at any point, and I will say hi back, etc., etc. But yeah, just join in as much as possible. And if you didn't catch what I just said, just in case it upsets people aesthetically, yes, I have got odd nails because I'm partway through taking it off and ran out of time. So I apologise if the weird aesthetics put you off, but I thought I'd explain so that you can relax and enjoy the conversation. So how can you feel enough, and why has that topic come up? So enoughness and the sense of feeling enough is an interesting conversation and comes up a lot in various ways. Whether I am talking to people who are, it's usually professionals or business owners that will talk about not having enough time, and we'll get a whole list of how busy their schedules are, etc., etc., which seems to become this kind of badge of honor that people wear a lot. Good evening, Shelley. People seem to wear a lot at the moment. It seems to be this status thing to say that I'm busy. In fact, there's a guy in the building where my office is that will quite often, he doesn't actually say hello. He's first thing that he says to me is busy. That's his question. And if I don't know whether it's a good thing to say, yeah, really busy, or no, I'm not busy, and that's great too. I don't know. That's the only conversation he really seems to want to have is busy, and then proceeds to tell me how busy he is. But the enoughness, yeah, so not enough time. I hear that a lot from people working or people running their own businesses. Not enough money is a common one. They are the two most common not enoughness I hear. And I find the not enough money a very interesting conversation, having been in a position of not having money or having very little money, and being more in debt than affluent. That I found it very interesting that somebody who had money would be saying to me, oh, well, you need to change your mindset and look at things a different way, and it's because you perceive that there isn't enough, there'll never be enough. And I really couldn't stand them for that. But what one person said one day really was like a smack around the face. And I didn't like it. Quite often didn't like what people said, but then would sit with it and go, yeah, I maybe didn't like it, but you know what, there's some truth in what they're saying. And one particular person said, I get that you don't think that you've got enough money, but have you ever noticed that when you want something or you want to do something that you always find the money? And I thought that was a good thing to go, yeah, look, I'm resourceful, and then realize actually what they were saying. I'm not going to go deep into that, but they're the two things that I wanted to flag up that people say a lot is I haven't got enough time or I haven't got enough money. But then you can start to look a lot deeper with it, and how often people will talk about not enoughness in relation to they don't think that they are enough. So they'll think that they're not tall enough or short enough or thin enough or fat enough or young enough or old enough or pretty enough or ugly enough, or the list of enoughness is huge, and people just seem to get caught up in it. And the more I talk to people, especially in relation to confidence and talking about if they're not doing something that they're saying that, I really want to do, fill in the blank, change jobs, leave a job, start a business, get in a relationship, get out of a relationship. Very often it'll be, oh, I haven't got the confidence to, or I haven't got the courage to. And then wants to start probing more, that's where a lot of the enoughness, or rather the I haven't got, starts to come up. So, you know, I haven't got enough courage, or I haven't got enough intelligence, or I'm not enough to be on my own. And there's all these sort of things start to creep up, and very often conversations will then start to pan through into how they believe at their core that they are not enough. Just let me know if this is making sense, by the way, because I've not shared information in this way before. And it's something that kind of agitates me because, well, not because, it agitates me as I can see how much it's being fed this continual perception of not enough. Hey, Rob, this continual perception of not enough is actually being fed. It's what the consumer machine works on, basically, is by constantly saying to you that you're not enough. You're not enough if you don't have that bright, shiny new car. You're not enough if you don't look a certain way, be that male or female. You know, if you've got a beard and it's not trimmed and groomed and using that product, then it's wrong. If you're a woman and you've got a beard, then you should be using the other product, because having a beard as a woman is wrong. And it's, you know, it means that you're not enough as a woman. And, you know, there's all of these messages that are being pushed out there of, you know, to have a beach body is, you know, you've got to look a certain way to be enough, or to have certain volumized hair, or, you know, it's a flawless skin even though you're 85, or whatever it is. It's just this constant message, because my perception of the commercial world, and believe me, I like stuff, I like to buy stuff, but stuff will never make you feel enough. That is a lie, that if you buy X, you're going to feel great. You might do in the moment, because you may or may not know that we do get a dopamine hit either just as we're about to buy something, as we buy something, or for a few moments after we've bought something. But, you know, that thing that you get, you know, you get your new phone, for example, and it's like, oh, bright, shiny new toy. And then after about a week, you're kind of like discarding it, just in the same way you were as the one that you had a week before, that you'd had for a year or more. And it's just this perpetual drive of enoughness. And we think it's, you know, a lot of people have started to become wise to it with regards the commercial side of it. And well, hang on a second, I only bought that last week, and they said it was the brand new best thing that was going to make me feel better. And now they're selling me this other thing that's saying that, well, no, hang on a second, this is the new brighter, shinier version, and this is going to make you feel better. Well, I better buy the new one. So I think we're starting to get wise to it, because of we're seeing the detritus, if that's the right word, all the stuff that's been left behind, you know, the stuff we got shoved in cupboards. And I had a really interesting conversation with somebody recently. It was a woman, around the amount of clothes that she has and keeps buying, but yet practically wears the same things over and over again. But I'm looking to feel better. I'm looking to feel more. I'm looking to feel like I am enough. Wasn't how she was describing it, but that's how I was hearing it. And it's fascinating how we've kind of become addicted to this sense that if I don't feel like I am enough, so say this is bucket number one, I don't feel like I am enough, so I look to the enough bucket, and I start looking to fill the enough bucket. So I keep shoving things in there that make me feel enough, or I think make me feel enough, like buying stuff, or it may be planning things so I can perceive that I'm in control, or it may be cleaning, or saving money, or eking back some time, or whatever it may be, applause, validation from other people. See, someone told me I'm great, so therefore I must be enough. And so we start shoving stuff in this enough bucket. But the thing is, whilst that's great and that may make you feel good, it doesn't make you feel good, but you may feel good having that stuff in there for a period of time. But it's not addressing the not enoughness. Does this make sense? Let me know if this is making sense. Oh, there's a few comments coming in. So Tiffany says, so true, never enough time to do it all. But do I have to do it all? Probably not. I think you're answering your own question there, my lovely. So I am working on it for some time now, and I've been doing what I can to what I can do it, and the rest will be for another day or not done, and that's fine too. Absolutely, that's perfect. And do you know what, Tiffany? Somebody again once said to me, if you hear yourself saying I haven't got enough time, just start saying I've got all the time in the world. I've got all the time in the world. And just notice what happens. I've got all the time in the world. And like you said, I'll get everything done that I can get done. I'll do what I can today. I've got all the time in the world. Do that for a month and tell me what happens. Let's have a little experiment. And obviously, if it's not just for Tiffany, if somebody else wants to have a go and join in, then do have a go. Rob says, I hate the world we live in today. We are judged on everything. Nobody can be any more you than any more you have to be a trendsetter. Can just be any more you have to be a trendsetter. I think I know what you mean there, Rob. So what, I don't, believe me, I've sat here so many times, whether I've watched a program, gone through social media, heard something on the news, and I there's a part of me that's wanted to bury my head and just go, really? And even as many of you know who if you follow me at all on social media or on the newsletter and everything, and if you don't, why not? That I eavesdrop, that's the word I was looking for, on other people's conversations, and I hear how many people are putting themselves down constantly because they're not this trendsetter or influencer, or they haven't got 50,000 likes or followers or whatever the craze is at that moment in time. And we need to be aware of that. I wrote a piece, an article, I think it's coming out this week. I think that's the one that I've written. I've written a number of them recently, and I can't remember which one's which, about being you and the importance of being you. And it's just so important. You can't be somebody else. And the thing is how much energy are you wasting trying to be somebody else? And you are never going to feel enough if you say that as I am is not enough and I need to be more like them. It's just never going to work. You're into a hiding there. So I think I get what you're saying there, Rob. Michelle says, I've had to leave so many jobs because of never feeling enough. Okay, so Michelle, I hope you're sitting down. One of the biggest mistakes that I made, not that it was a mistake because it led me on a different path, which was great, but I left a whole career because I blamed the career and the environment on how I felt. And at that time, I felt lacking in confidence, certainly didn't feel good enough. I worked in show business. I worked as a stage manager. I never felt that stage management or any of the backstage team were ever enough in comparison to how the actors and the performers were treated in comparison to us. So I always felt less than. And I blamed my environment for that perception. I blamed my environment for me feeling that way. And it was only when I left that and stepped out into the outside world that I realized that after a while, it took me a while to realize that those feelings kept coming with me. That sense of not enoughness kept coming with me. That sense of not being good enough, being less than others kept coming everywhere that I went. And it was like following me around like a bad smell. Every time I was like, oh, right, I need to get rid of that. And would try and get rid of it and realize it had followed me again. And then I realized that, hang on a second, it's not following me, it's with me. And I need to turn and address that. And if you don't turn and address it, then unfortunately, Michelle, it is going to keep following you. And I guess that moving jobs is not going to be the fun thing to keep doing. You may be somebody who loves doing that. But if you really want to feel enough, then turn and face some of that stuff, because otherwise it's going to it's just going to be something that permeates around in various ways. Let me know if that makes sense, my lovely. Because we have to start taking personal responsibility. I had a wonderful client with a wonderful conversation with a colleague today about exactly that, about what would the world be like if we all actually took personal responsibility rather than blaming the external world for how we feel. And I'm not disputing, by the way, that there are people who are bullies in the workplace and outside of the workplace as well. But there are bullies, there are people who are just not great to be around and can create what would be classed as toxic environments, I suppose. But the more you can recognize that you can take responsibility with that, the more that's going to help you even more. So this is a bit of a lads show this evening. I had Martin, now we've got Rob. I had an interesting conversation the other day, Jules, about transgender people. There are people in the spotlight now that are going through transition because people are looking at how they are now as different gender. They're looking at their life and thinking, maybe if I go through it, that I will be successful. I'm all for people being happy and changing gender, but it is a big move and need a lot of thought. People shouldn't be doing it just to try and feel happier and more accepted. Yeah, and it's interesting that you should say that, and it's not an area that I know a great deal about, Rob. I know that we've had a different conversation in relation to that world, not that world specifically to you. But I do think that we have to be very careful of, as human beings, we're quite tribal, and because we don't feel enough. And by the way, this sense of enoughness is part of what the thinking brain does, and it happens from a very early age. But unless we address it at some point in our lives, the sooner the better, it's going to permeate and it's going to keep coming through. It's like that bad smell that keeps following us. But if we can address it right the way back when we're sort of like in our teens, then things would shift quite quickly. And I think that what's happening, not just in the transgender world, but I think for a lot of people, because there's so much uncertainty happening, and people are feeling unsettled, the stuff that we've learned to cover up, be that through consumerism or something else, that it is starting to kind of seep through. It's eking through. We're not able to cover it up as much at the moment. So therefore, our coping strategies aren't working in the same way. So then we see somebody who does something amazingly brave and courageous by going through a whole transition and changing their gender. And if I'm feeling that uncomfortable and that's creating that irk, and I see that person is suddenly happy and joyous, and I think, well, then that's potentially what I need to do. And I don't think it just happens in that world. You know, I remember years ago I've had conversations, this same conversation, I don't know how many times, where somebody will come up to me, it's usually after I've done a talk or a workshop, and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, I want to do what you're doing. How did you get into that? And so often I will have a conversation with them and they realize it's not that they want to be doing what I do. It's that they can see that I'm happy, that I'm content, that I'm confident, that I enjoy my life, I enjoy what I do. And that's what they want. And it's like, right, okay, well, let's look at finding you that in your way. And I think, Rob, if I understand what you're saying, that that's a similar crossover in that sense. As I say, it's not a world I know a huge amount about transgender life and all of that transitioning, but it's one that does intrigue me in that sense. So what I would love to, before I give you I'm going to give you a mantra that you can start repeating for yourself to help you recognize that you are enough and you can feel enough in any situation. But before I get to that, because I'm a little tease, is what I'd love you to do is I'd love you to either do thumbs or hearts or some fabulous emojis to let me know that this has made sense and it's resonated with you. And or comment below what's your takeaway, or what are you thinking about, what's coming to your mind as we're having this conversation this evening. I'm going to have a little swig of my tea. not had oat milk in my tea before. It's really nice. Yeah, I'd love to know what's your no, I don't think it is jealousy, Rob. Not in that same sense. I think as human beings, we're seeking to get out of our pain, and we're trying to avoid the discomfort that we feel. Thank you for all the hearts and the thumbs that are coming in. I think we're trying not to feel uncomfortable. We try not to feel that enoughness, which is why we go and buy stuff, or we watch stuff, or we drink stuff, or we eat stuff, or we have sex, or we gamble, or whatever any of these addictions are that we do. And by the way, as soon as I know where the book is, she says, trying to reach for it and realizing that I've moved it. Can't get it out of the bookcase. Too many books. If you do think that you're addicted to anything in any kind of way, whether it's social media, there's Russell, any social media, whether it is, what does he put on here? Instagram, work, drama, drugs, shopping, Twitter, honesty, acceptance, oh no, that's all the good stuff. Gambling, online shopping, sugar, smoking, Instagram, any of those things. If you think that you've got addictions in any way, shape or form, I do think that Russell's book is a great insight. And it's like he says, if I can remember, I will have folded the page down somewhere. Let me have a look, because I do think that this, so he's put right near the beginning, he's put a 5-point guide to the cycle of addiction. And I think that the reason I'm sharing this, because I think this links into it, if I perceive that I'm not enough, then I go into pain, right? So that's point 1, is pain. And then we use an addictive agent like alcohol, food, sex, work, dependent relationships to soothe or distract us from that pain. And then point 3 is we get temporary anesthesia or distraction from the pain. But then there's consequences to whatever the distraction was that we did. And then we tend to feel guilt, shame, and then that leads to low self-esteem, and then that loops back to the pain, and the cycle starts again, which is why then we get addicted to something or behavior. So if you haven't, I really would recommend reading this, because it gives you an in to doing things differently. It's his take on the 12-step process, which is used for alcohol and drug addictions, and helping people step away from that. But it's Russell's spin. Yeah, and I do think it's a great book. And I'm not on commission. Yeah, so Tiffany's put takeaway. Does that answer that, by the way, Rob? Tiffany's said takeaway is that I have all the time in the world. Love that mantra that I will keep on repeating to myself. Thank you. You're always so welcome, my lovely. See what happens. See what happens. I know for me, when I did it, every time I noticed I was going, I haven't got enough time, I've not enough time, there's not enough time, I would be getting stressed. So when I switched it and just said, I've got all the time in the world, if nothing else, I just tended to feel relaxed. And if you think about it, are you going to get more stuff done effectively if you're stressed, or are you going to get more stuff done effectively if you're relaxed? It's logical, really. So the mantra that I want to share with you is one that a client and I came up with in relation to a situation, and I have shared this on here before, but I really wanted to highlight this. And it's not a mantra as in, I think that you should repeat it every second of every day, or a mantra that you need to go into meditation and meditate an hour with this mantra. But it's something that you could start to repeat every so often, or even write about, do a collage or an interpretive dance if you wanted to. But notice when you say this mantra, what comes up for you, and whether you believe it, whether you push against it, whether you like it, don't like it, and just notice what happens, because then that can give you the opportunity to see what's really going on. Because rather than avoid that pain, which is that cycle that I've just read out of Russell's book, of that avoiding that pain, which is why we go into those behaviors, is see the pain, stop avoiding it, because that's where you can really grow. That's where you can really make some big changes. But most people don't want to go there. They just want to feel better. So they just keep scooching away from it all the time. So you have a beating heart. Everything else is just treat, challenge, reward, or obstacle is how I look at life. There is a way around every obstacle, a way around, under, through, avoid it, whatever. There's ways around obstacles, absolutely. So, Martin says, takeaway for me is all we can do is all we can do, and that's always enough. Absolutely, absolutely. And so on that note, let me share this with you, because I believe that so much of our enoughness or perception of not enoughness comes from a driver of comparison. So we're comparing ourselves to other people and what they do or don't have, which is what social media plays on. It's what in the 50s, it's what commercialism really kicked off with, you know, keeping up with the Joneses and all that sort of thing, and what's the neighbor doing, all of that sort of thing really trickled out. So what's so important is for you to recognize that you are enough and you are equal to others. You are enough and equal to others. I am enough and equal to you. I am enough and equal to others. I am enough and equal to others. I just wonder what your life could be like if you started to know the truth of that saying and allowed it to really resonate with you, really start to see how, if you're not feeling that, if you're not knowing that, if you're not experiencing that, then what else is going on? What else is happening at that moment in time? And don't run from it. Look to see what's happening, because that's where some magic can really happen. So I am enough and equal to you. That's Belle. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on that? Let me know if you like it, if it makes sense, if you're going to give it a go. And if not, what's your challenge with it? Because one of the things I love to do when I'm working with clients is really get them to start to see that if they're not comparing themselves to anyone or anything, then they can feel enough, because there's nothing to compare it to. So that would be my thought. Martin, I'll think of this song and your wise words. I will look at that song afterwards, Martin. I keep being sent songs at the moment, which is really lovely. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago down in Newmarket, and one of the things I spoke about was finding joy in all sorts of random places. And yeah, it was fabulous, because somebody sent me a song that's all about joy, and it's it's quite an unexpected song, and so I really like that. So thank you, Martin. I will have a look at that. I am enough and equal to you. That's how you can feel enough in any situation, is by knowing that statement, using that statement, and challenging anything that doesn't connect into that statement. So I hope that you have found something that resonates with you this evening in our conversation, which has been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for all the interaction. It's a much more joyous interaction when there's interaction. There's lots of emojis suddenly shooting in. So thank you for that. And if you have something stuck in my throat, if you have a particular topic or question or theme that you would really like me to, or us, sorry, to have a conversation on, then please do let me know. You can either message me direct on here, or you can send me an email, jules@juleswyman.com, because it's always lovely. And if not, I just continue to show up with what I think may be resonating with you or might be required at this moment in time. But if you're watching on the recording as well, remember that you can join in at any point. If you've made it right the way through to the end, thank you for staying here, both those watching live and those who are watching the recording. So it's next week. I can't remember off the top of my head now what the topic is because I'm not in the office and I have them all written up on my wall. Obviously, the wall is there in my office. So you're just going to have to watch for the information next week. And in fact, if you do not, let me put this in here. I really need to learn that I can't talk and type at the same time. I've just put my website there. If you're not on the newsletter, then if you go to the part where it says about the 7 keys of confidence and put in your email there, then it will come up with, do you want to stay in touch? And if you tick yes, then you will get the newsletter or the information every week as to what the topic is. Or you can just turn up and be here every week anyway. Usual time, 7 p.m. UK, so whatever that was 36 minutes ago for you, I've overrun. And thank you for joining this evening. Please remember to share. Please remember to take that mantra and play around with it, use it, notice what happens, and give me feedback. Come back and share, because it's always great to know what works and what doesn't work for people. So come and join me next week live. Share the video for anybody that you think it would resonate with. Have a wonderful rest of day/evening, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. Take care. Be kind to yourself.